Alright, hey guys, welcome to Fishing with TR. Lord willing, we'll come out here and catch a fish today. Fished yesterday, and big bass tournament going on here this weekend, and Lower Lake was just eat up of boats yesterday, and I don't know, glad they're able to do it, but fishing wasn't that great for somebody looking for catfish yesterday. So anyway, I decided to come upriver where maybe you know, I can just get away from the traffic a little bit. But I did get a request or two about, you know, what rigs I'm using, in particular striper rigs. Well guys, first thing you got to know is I'm not a striper fisherman. I am really just a big fish fisherman. So you know, some of these rigs I'm going to show you are not the best rigs for striper, but they are the best rigs if you're targeting flathead, blue cats, and the occasional striper bite. So just keep that in mind. And one example of that is you're going to notice I use high-vis line. I do that because I want to see my line. And also when I have lines out, like when I'm catfishing and I've got a spread of lines out, I want other folks to be able to see my line too, because I will cover a lot of water. And as boats come by, I don't want them, you know, running into my line. And I pull planer boards a lot. And again, it just helps, you know, my poor eyesight if I can see where my line is. Striper can be line sensitive. And, you know, so if you're a serious striper fisherman, you probably want to go low-vis line. Second thing is, you know, I'm not using Fluor Carbon. And, you know, again, you know, usually your leader that runs from whatever terminal tackle you're using to your hook, and you're a serious striper fisherman, you're probably going to be using some sort of Fluor Carbon. I'm not. But to go over my rigs, you know, just a traditional striper rig that I grew up fishing with, just a Carolina rig, that's all it is, which is as simple as, you know, a 1 ounce egg sinker to a swivel, and then some sort of leader material to a hook. And that's probably my favorite rig, a Carolina rig. And for striper fishermen, you know, this is, you know, again, real light, and kind of gives the bait, if you're going to suspend baits, an opportunity to swim around a little bit. But this one, again, this is just a standard Carolina rig, nothing more than an egg sinker to a swivel, and then some leader material. Now I do like to use the beads because it protects my knots when the weight is coming down and could beat that knot up. Now this 1 ounce sinker, it's not going to hurt my knot. But these rigs that I am going to show you here in a minute, you know, when I'm using the heavier weight, you do want to use those. But anyway, first rig that I'm showing you is a Carolina rig. Let's get this one set out and I'll show you the next one. Alright. So this one is also a Carolina rig, but when I use the heavier weights and I'm traveling in the boat or I've got the rods put up at home, I don't want to beat my line, just beat my rods up with the weight. So what I do is I use these sinker slides so that I can take my weight on and off. Now this one is also just a Carolina rig. So what I will do is I will take, today we've got a lot of current, so I'm going to use an 8 ounce sinker. So now you can see why I've got that bead on there, because that is going to beat up a knot if you don't have that bead there. But this one is also just a Carolina rig, high-vis line. This is 40 pound, by the way. Remember, I'm targeting big fish. Sinker slide, bead, swivel. I'm using a polymer knot on top, just a regular cinch knot on the bottom. And the other rig I showed you a second ago, I am using a low-vis 40 pound leader on this one. This is an 80 pound leader. So again, I'm focusing on big fish, and a lot of times when you're fishing for big fish, you're fishing heavy structure, and this is actually leader material, 80 pound. And again, you know, if I get a fray and for some reason that thing is weakened, I want to be able to still catch that fish. And then I go down to, this is an 8-aught hook. This is a Gamakatsu octopus circle. And then I have it snail knotted And I love that snell knot because, you know, if you do catch a fish and it adds pressure to that hook, it will pull that circle hook back into the corner of its jaw. Now remember, I'm going to keep mentioning this, and I'm going to say it over and over again, I'm targeting big fish. And if you're focusing on striper, that 8/0 hook may not be the best option for you. You may want to go with a 6/0. Depends on the size of your bait, but this is super clear water. I may go with a 6/0 hook, but channel cats, blue cats, and flatheads, they don't care so much. But anyway, this is another Carolina rig. All right, guys. So this is a third type of rig that I catch a lot of striper on, but it's not traditionally a striper rig. Again, it's a catfish rig. They call it the Santee rig. So you got to know, if you're in catfish circles, that it is the Santee Cooper rig. Santee Cooper is known for its giant catfish, and I'm betting somebody come up with this rig because a popular way to fish that lake is to drift fish. And if you're drifting, you want a weight to stay connected to the bottom, but you need your bait to float. So this rig, now I have 2 swivels. That's not necessary, but I'll tell you why I do that. Again, my main line is 40 pound down to a swivel, a short section of line where I keep my I'm losing my words here, guys. My sinker slide, there we go, to a second swivel that goes to my leader. Now we'll get down to the leader in a second, but you know, I like to limit the amount of space that this sinker slide uses, because in heavy current, when I'm sitting still, this could really allow my bait to get to drift way up. And so I'll limit the distance that sinker slide can travel. But at the same time, it allows me to take my weights on and off so I don't beat my rods up when I travel. And I also use regular heavy weights, you know, if I'm fishing on the bottom. And sometimes I will use dragging weights when I'm dragging. So this gives me the option to change out the type of weight I'm using. Now, the Santee rig is typically, let's say, 2 or 3 feet. And as I'm doing this, I'm feeling frays in my leader line, so I will be changing that. But it allows 2 or 3 feet of leader down to a flotation device. Now this is a spook, and they're real popular to use. I mean, they kind of look like a bait. They have a little rattle in it. But you can also use peg floats. Let me get my words out. But the whole purpose of this is the weight keeps this connected to the bottom. This flotation will suspend your bait off the bottom to a point where it is in the fish's strike zone. And it's also important when you're dragging weights, because as you drag, your dragging weight is connected to the bottom, and this float keeps your bait up and out of snags. So it keeps it from getting snagged and keeps it in the fish strike zone. And then I usually have 6 or 8 inches of leader line from the flotation device to the hook. So as it goes through the water, I'm going to demonstrate this as best I can. If you're dragging, this is down on the bottom, like so, and this is 2 or 3 feet up off the bottom, where it won't get snagged, and it can be in the fish's strike zone. Again, this catches striper. And I will often put a live bait on this, particularly in current like today. I can throw out an 8-ounce sinker on this. In this heavy current, my bait would otherwise be kind of shifting on the bottom, but now it's kind of shift a foot or 2 off the bottom, and really present itself well for fish. This is, again, really a catfish type rig, but it works really well for striper, particularly when they're feeding on the bottom. But guys, you know, again, the question was, what are you using for striper rigs? Just keep in mind, I'm targeting big fish. And if you want to target striper, you might consider, you know, smaller hooks, a different presentation, you know, where it's a little less visibility sensitive. But that's all I'm doing. So anyway, guys, let me get rigged up here, and we can't catch fish till we get bait in the water, so that's what we're fixing to do. This will probably be a video on its own, guys, so I'll try to get 2 released, particularly if I catch fish. If not, you may just see this rig up video. But let's see if we can catch some fish.